again, and welcome back to another video. Today we are doing something different but hopefully still fun, and I'm going to be ranking in like one of those fun tier lists all of the costumes from season 1 episode 1 of the new HBO show House of Dragon. Some of you may know it premiered just a few days ago, and as an avid Game of Thrones costume fan, I just knew I had to do a review as soon as possible. Janie Tamim is the new costume designer for this show, which is a change from the costumes of the original show. And with a new costume designer with an already established kind of canon of how the world works and how the fashions and clothing work, I was very interested and slightly worried to see how this was going to work out. But I was pleasantly surprised by the costumes in this first episode. Going forward, there's going to be a spoiler warning. If you have not watched the first episode of House of Dragon, please stop here and come back when you have and we can discuss. Also, just a disclaimer, this is not going to be about every single costume that appears in the show. I'm kind of trying to do the more major characters as well as ones that you can see. A lot of the show is very darkly lit, which is very annoying to me, but I can't see a lot of the clothing that a lot of the men wear, so I'm just doing what I can, alright? Good talk. So without further ado, we can get into it. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe down below if you'd like to see more from me. And please comment down below and tell me your thoughts on this first episode as well as the costumes. Alright, so I have my computer here, so if you see me looking this way, that is why. We're gonna start off strong with what I call, I'm gonna just kind of make up names for these, Rhaenyra's riding costume. We see her get off of her dragon and she's wearing this beautiful wooden coat with a nice scale motif. I adore this one. I think it was such a smart decision to start off the show with this and so integrally tie Rhaenyra and Daenerys together, because the silhouette and the colors, as well as just obviously the white Targaryen hair, is very reminiscent of Daenerys in some of her more iconic looks, and yet it's unique enough that it feels like it could be from an earlier time period or an earlier iteration of Daenerys's costumes, which I love. I think they did such an excellent job. I love the fastenings on it. I love this, love the scale detail. And I think it also is a great way to establish Rhaenyra's character and tying her with the dragons and the want to be a knight that she expresses throughout the episode. So for all those reasons, as well as many more, this first one is going to be an A. The next character we see, I'm kind of going in chronological order, sort of. But next character we see is Sir Harold, who is the captain of the Kingsguard under King Viserys I, who is the current king of the show. And I think his armor is a unique departure from the original Kingsguard uniforms that we see in the Game of Thrones show. I don't know a ton about armor, so please excuse my terminology and all that, but this braided metal texture that he has on his breastplate is just super interesting, adds a lot of depth and dimension, and I think they kind of look more elevated than the Kingsguard uniforms of the original show, and I think that really helps establish like the wealth that we get in this show, and we get to see the Targaryens' wealth and like how the economy is kind of thriving under them, compared to like in Game of Thrones. One of the bigger plot points is that the crown is in a lot of debt, and so I feel like the Kingsguard's uniforms kind of suffer because of that. But I do think the paladins on his shoulders are still a little basic. I think it could have been pushed a little further, but I do like it. So Harold's gonna land himself as a solid B. Next we meet our third character, who is Lady Alicent Hightower, who her and Rhaenyra are in love. They're girlfriends. Like, I picked it up, my brother picked it up, my mom picked it up. Like, if the lesbian isn't the one who brings up, oh, they're girlfriends, you know they're girlfriends. They're dating. And I just know it's gonna end badly. I just know. I haven't read the book, but I know it's gonna end badly and it's going to break my heart. But for now, they're happy little girlfriends and I love them. But I love this dress. I love the choice to go with a classic medieval style, which feels like something that the King's Landing fashions with the wrap dresses and the big sleeves would have evolved from. The neckline is gorgeous. I love the details that they added to it to kind of make it a little more than a lot of medieval gowns, which might have just been plain fabrics. I'm also a huge fan of chemises peeking out from under dresses. You can see that under her collar, as well as her sleeves stop short and the bottom half of her arms is her chemise, which I love. I think this was a win. Great job. Folks, we got another A. Okay, this one's gonna seem silly, but you have to stick with me here. I love the maids' costumes. I think they're genius. I think they are a little different from a lot of the other Game of Thrones stuff that we've seen. They are so rooted in history and they feel so authentic and kind of ground you in a different time period that I just can't get over them. So this is gonna be our first S. Yes, I'm giving this little apron an S. And I know that's gonna be controversial, but I love them. I think they're super effective. I think especially compared to like Alicent's dress, which is another very classic medieval silhouette, I think they work perfectly. I love them. Perfect. 10 out of 10. S. Now we get introduced to our first Daemon costume. This one is pretty basic. It's just like a silvery white shirt over a black doublet, and I am honestly not impressed. This costume looks like it could have been on a character in the original Game of Thrones show, which takes place nearly 150 years after when this is supposed to be happening. And it just doesn't work for me for that reason. I feel like since they pushed the women's dresses so medieval, they kind of needed to push the men's costumes there as well, and it didn't do that for me. Not a fan, but like also not the worst, so it's gonna end up in a solid C category. So next up, we're going back to the best girl, Rhaenyra. This one I don't love as much as her riding outfit. This gold dress, I really don't understand the short sleeves. It doesn't fit with the other sleeve styles that we've seen, like the ones on Alicent, as well as just like background characters at this point, and I just don't think it was the best choice. I wouldn't be mad at it if it was overlaid on a chemise like Alicent's dress was, but like just the classic short sleeves, it just doesn't do it for me. Like if it was layered again, which has some historical precedent, yeah, I wouldn't have batted an eye at it, but just since it doesn't seem to fit with the like rest of the established fashions of King's Landing, I just don't get it. It does have potential, so let's give it a C. I think a C would be a good. We really do get a lot of Daemon and Rhaenyra this episode, and now we have another one of Daemon's costumes. This one is his city guard gold cloak kind of armor. I think this is another great example, like Sir Harold's Kingsguard armor, of the designer working backwards from previous work. The gold cloaks in the original Game of Thrones series aren't very gold. They don't have gold cloaks in the same way. They have cloak-like armor and cloak-like chainmail that is like gold tinted, but these are some stunning gold cloaks. I love how dramatic they are, and I love the texture of this fabric, and I think it really contrasts, like, it kind of gives a mythos and a prestige to the city guard, yet it's contrasted with them like committing these atrocities, and I think it is genius. I love it. I also love the scaly texture on the breastplate, which I love a theme. I love that the theme is consistent. Stick with the dragon theme. Excellent. Another A, I think. It's not quite an S yet. For Alicent's second look, we have another light blue gown, and I really liked this one as well. This is her more formal dress for her the tourney, and then it's seen later at the end of the episode as well. I also really like this one. It's another classic medieval shape, this time with some sleeves. I love a good sleeve. And I love these big sleeves that she has in this costume and how you can kind of see them, as well as Rhaenyra's outfit from the tourney kind of merging together to create the classic big drapey King's Landing sleeves that we see in Game of Thrones. I think the light blue color is such a great contrast with all of the dark colors that both the royal Targaryens have, and there's a lot of people who are in mourning, a lot of black, and it kind of makes a lot of the details get lost. And I think she just stands out strikingly against all of those. The crisscrossy kind of design also reminds me of the Kingsguard armor, which I feel like kind of connects her to the Kingsguard in that her family is serving the crown. I'm not sure if I'm reading too much into that, but like, I think it's cool. I'm gonna pretend I'm not. This one, I think, again, not quite an S. I think it's another A. Now we go to her buddy, Rhaenyra, and this one is such a fun, classic princess look. I love the standing collar, even though it's like a later time period, and I know I was just giving Daemon some shit about the later time period, but since it doesn't show up in Game of Thrones, I still think it works. It looks more Edwardian than medieval, but it's very classic princess. I think works super well for her character at the beginning, because in this scene, she's playing this role of the perfect princess while like the heir, her brother, is like being born. She just kind of has to perform this femininity, and I think this works very well to show that. I love the big sleeves, kind of showing the royal family setting the fashion trends going forward in the future, and I just love the rich red. I felt like we were really missing Daenerys in a lot of reds and blacks and rich, dark colors. Even though she got some at the end, like it was more about her going evil than it was about like her being a Targaryen. And I love the Targaryen color scheme that we are getting to see so far. I think this one, I think it's another A, solidly. Now, this is what I'm talking about. Daemon's tourney armor is this beautiful theatrical armor, and he has a whole dragon on his head. Oh, beautiful. Love it. This is exactly what I was hoping for from the series, like sticking to the theme. You know the Targaryens are all about those dragons, and it works. It's ridiculous wealth and commitment to the bit. It's not a bit, but like commitment to the theme. I couldn't have asked for better armor than this. It's so good and so cool and impractical, which is what makes it perfect, especially for a tourney where it's all about the theatrics. This, my friends, this is our second S. Okay, now we get the first King Viserys look, and the reason it's the first one is because everything else he wears, he has his hands in front of his body, and it's dark as hell, so I couldn't see anything. But this is the perfect Targaryen king outfit. The red shirt in contrast with the dark jacket. I love all the textures and the layering that we're going on here. I also like that the cat's paw, I think that's what it's called, the cat's paw dagger that, spoilers for Game of Thrones, Arya uses to kill the Night King. I think it's interesting that they're introducing it all the way back here. We also get to see some of that classic Game of Thrones lush embroidery, which I am all about. It's on the shoulders of his jacket. The jacket is not really a style that we saw in the original series, so I really like this one because you can kind of see the jacket closing in and becoming the doublet over time. Like that kind of makes sense as a through line. So that's why I like this one better than I like Daemon's. I just really like how original this one. I think it's a very solid A. Here we get to see some more of that classic embroidery, this time on Sir Corlys, I think is his name. I think that's how you say his name at least. I think this costume, while I love the embroidery, I think it leaves something to be desired. I'm not sure if it's like the fabric has all this texture and this very geometric pattern. I feel like it's like draws attention away from the cut of the clothes, and I just don't think it's as effective as it could be. I think it's very solidly colored, besides the crest on his chest. I think it needs like a different kind of fabric that is being contrasted, just something. I think it's missing the layers that Viserys as well as Otto, who we're going to talk about next, have, and it just makes it look very plain when it's sitting next to the two of them. Again, the embroidery on the front is gorgeous, love that, but they're really relying on it to carry the design, and I don't think it works. So this one sadly is getting a C.
I also forgot to mention while I was reporting, but I really think it's important that they're including people of color much earlier on in the series and not just as like savages or freed slaves. I think it's really important and a really good step, something that was lacking in Game of Thrones, to just have like black people existing within Westeros, and I very much appreciate Sir Corlys for that reason as well.
So everyone in this episode is basically in mourning, and Otto Hightower is no exception. He's in these dark colors. But what I really think was interesting, and I think this was a great choice, they blended the dark green of his coat with the blacks to give him still a mourning outfit, but it has a lot of color variation and depth, and that's such a brilliant choice. I love the lapel shape. I think that's very different and not something we've seen. And again, this is something you can kind of see as closing and becoming the doublets that we see in Game of Thrones. I think this is great, lots of layering, lots of interest. It's able to combat the difficulty of wearing black on screen where you lose all the texture. I think it's great. Another solid A, I'd say. Time for my second controversial opinion. I don't know how many controversial opinions I've said, but this is my second one that I feel like is gonna be controversial. I adore this dress. This is Rhaenyra's morning outfit, and it is super simple, at least how we can see from the dark lighting. But the plain black dress is so striking, and the detail on the collar with the trim just adds enough interest right around her face, and the white chemise peeking through her lace-up sleeves. Oh, it's beautiful. Incredible. Great contrast. This one, it gets an S. It's hard to make something so simple, yet so successful. We only got 2 left, so thank you for sticking with me. Next is Daemon. Daemon, oh Daemon. I'm not quite sure what to call this look of his, but it's like what he's wearing when he's talking to Viserys, and Viserys is confronting him about what he said, kind of telling him he's not the heir anymore. You can't see it at all in that scene, but in the interview footage after the show, you can see it. He looks like he's in a punk band from like the early 2000s. It looks like a leather vest you could buy from Hot Topic. I'm not a fan. I think it's a miss for me. I just don't think it works. I think the leather, the way that it's weathered over the studs, I think it just looks kind of cheap. I hope they don't have him in this very much. And like the contrasting red sleeves really, like I think if it was a black sleeve, I think it would work a little better, but the red sleeves, I hope they don't have him in this. I think they, or like at least keep the lighting dark so I don't have to look at it. I'm sorry, Daemon. This one's going down in the D tier. And finally, we get this incredible costume that Rhaenyra wears when she is crowned the heir of the Seven Kingdoms. I don't know. I'm in awe. I don't think I could say anything that properly conveys how beautiful this costume is. It has so much depth and detail. I feel like I could make an entire video just talking about this costume. It's so lush and rich, and there's all these different textures and colors, and it brings together the whole color scheme, and it's just perfect for this like super ceremonial situation where she's on full display and trying to look regal and like she's deserving of the crown, and kind of displaying that to all of the lords of the Seven Kingdoms. We get more of that amazing embroidery. I don't know, I couldn't find the name of an embroidery artist. I tried looking, but it's incredible. It's on the cape as well as on the dress, kind of near her bodice. It's beautiful. It's just so beautiful. And we get some really great jewelry and headpieces. Her headpiece, we haven't really seen anything very similar to that in Game of Thrones, and I think it works super well again for this like ceremonial look. And we get the dressing scene where Alicent is helping her get dressed. We just get to see every little bit and detail of it. Oh, I love it. All the hard work in this costume definitely got to be on full display, and it is an amazing standout piece and gets an S. Closing out strong. All right, here is our final list. I feel pretty solid about all of my decisions. I'm not sure if you guys disagree with me, and if you do disagree, please let me know down below. I want to hear your thoughts. Also, if you have any favorites that I missed, there were some Alicent dresses that I was very interested in but couldn't get a good glimpse at. So, let me know your thoughts. Let me know your thoughts on the episode. I feel like this is a good indicator of what's to come for the rest of the season. I think both the show itself and the show, the least important part, and the costumes, which is really what we're all here for, I think that if they continue on the trajectory that this episode was on, I think it's going to be good, which is good because I was hesitant about it. But that will be it for me. If you want to do this yourself, I think I can leave the link below. I'm not sure. I'll see if I can figure that out. But I hope you all have a great rest of your day. I hope you enjoyed this. Subscribe down below if you'd like to see more from me. Maybe I'll end up making one of Rhaenyra's or Alicent's costumes. We will see how it goes. I'm not super attached to any of them yet, but I am attached to those girls, and I am attached to their little sapphic relationship, which is going to end in fire and blood. I know it. It's just not gonna work out, but I wish it would. In my hearts, they are riding on Dragonback and eating nothing but cake. Anyways, I hope you all have a great rest of your day. Okay, bye!